Last Christmas, my mom looked me in the eyes and said, "Lily, maybe it's better if you just spend the holidays alone. You don't belong here that night," I decided. If they won't see me kindly, they'll see me clearly. Hi, I'm Lily. I'm 28, a graphic designer who likes cinnamon coffee, playlists that sound like late afternoon light, and quiet mornings with my phone on Do Not Disturb. I pay my bills on time. I keep plants alive. I am, by every ordinary measure, a functioning adult. But in my family, ordinary didn't count. Or maybe I didn't. My older brother Ethan was the one who counted. Big job, big house, perfect wife, 2 photogenic kids, a grill you could see from space. My parents bragged about him the way people brag about winning lottery tickets. Loudly, constantly, with the surety that fortune chose them on purpose. When I got hired full-time at a boutique studio, my mom said, "That's nice, honey," in the voice you use when the weather cooperates. When I designed posters for a charity 5K, my dad sent a thumbs-up emoji. When Ethan posted his new smoker, they wrote entire essays about what a provider he was. I don't think they woke up one day and decided to erase me. Some erasures happen slowly, like frost on a window, a silver whisper, then a lace, then a sheet, until one morning you realize you can't see out, and no one can see in. The first time I understood the frost was growing, it was Thanksgiving 7 years ago. I texted my mom in the morning. "What time should I come?" No answer. At 3 o'clock, I opened Instagram, and there it was. Ethan carving a turkey under perfect pendant lights. Melissa arranging a charcuterie board like she was laying tile. My dad raising a glass. My mom laughing. Everyone's faces warmed by a filter called home. The caption said, "So thankful for family." They tagged the neighbor. They tagged the neighbor's dog. They did not tag me. The next day when I asked, my mom told me, "It was small this year, sweetheart." You didn't miss much. In the photo I counted 13 people. 13 is many things. Small isn't one of them. I told myself it was an oversight. That Christmas, I baked cranberry bars and showed up early at Ethan's. Melissa opened the door. Her smile dipped, then returned, like a leaf catching and releasing a current. "Oh, Lily, you made it." The table inside was long, glowing with candles, and my place card waited at the end next to the kids' cups. Lily, kids. Paper napkin instead of cloth. When my dad called, "Family photo?" I stood. Ethan laughed lightly and said, "Let's do one with the core family first." The flash popped. They laughed. I stepped back and pretended I needed water. That was the photo on the Christmas card they mailed out to 100 households. The core family fit perfectly in the frame. I didn't. After that, the pattern set. Easter brunch? We thought you were busy. 4th of July? We kept it simple. Thanksgiving again? Last minute at Ethan's. New Year's? Matching pajamas in a post with 30 comments that all said some version of goals. I microwaved leftovers and watched fireworks on a stream whose audio was 2 seconds behind the light. I adapted. I volunteered for holiday shifts. I told myself extra pay was good. It was good. It was also a way not to watch the door. 2 years ago, I decided to try something else. I texted our family chat, my parents, Ethan, and Melissa. I'd love to host Christmas Eve at my place this year. Hot cocoa bar, cozy lights, I'll handle everything. The bubbles appeared and disappeared. My mom finally wrote, "Sweet idea." But Ethan's is more central. Melissa chimed in, "The tree's already up here." Easier for the kids. My dad added, "Parking's tricky near your building." Ethan wrote, "We'll do something with you soon." Soon didn't come with a date. But they did assign me a task: bring ice. So I stood on their porch, arms frozen around 4 bags, while they cheered a play in the living room. And when someone finally opened the door, they took the bags and said, "Perfect timing," then drifted back to the game. Hope is a stubborn animal. It will curl up and sleep in cold places. Last December, 2 weeks before Christmas, my mom called and asked if I could pick up groceries for her because she was swamped. I bought everything on the list, drove over, and set the bags on the kitchen counter. Voices came from the next room. My mom's and Ethan's, warm and careless in the way people get when they don't need to lower their volume. Ethan said, "Just don't tell Lily about Christmas Eve. She makes things awkward." My mom chuckled. "She's used to being alone. It's better this way." They laughed, not cruelly, casually. Casual hurt more. Cruelty knows what it's doing. Casual thinks it's telling the truth. I walked out without saying a word, drove until my gas light blinked, and sat in a flickering parking lot while "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" played on the radio. Christmas played through a bad speaker. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel and let the entire song finish, because turning the key felt like pretending. That night, I brewed cinnamon coffee to hold something warm and made a list of the parts of my life that didn't depend on my family's permission. The job I liked, the clients who paid, the friends who sent me memes at 1 a.m, the neighbor who held the elevator when my hands were full, the plant I had coaxed through a rough month of yellowing leaves. A sentence arrived, clean and cold. "If they won't see me kindly, they will see me clearly." When Ethan texted, "Cookie decorating tomorrow." "Drop by if you want," I wrote back. "Thanks." "I can't make it." Tiny sentence. Tiny hinge. Doors swing on hinges. Christmas Eve arrived like it always does, with my city softening as people remembered to say "after you," with my brother's house probably smelling like cinnamon and convenience. I stood in the kitchen with a plate of cookies I had planned to bring and decided to drop them off and leave. Maybe it was masochism. Maybe it was the last test. The house was loud. Melissa's voice floated through the hallway, bright and competent. My dad laughed too loudly at something my nephew said. I found my mom near the kitchen island, and before I could speak, she took my wrist and pulled me toward the pantry where it was quieter. She wore the soft smile she uses to cushion hard words. "Lily," she said, looking right into me, "maybe it's better if you just spend the holidays alone. You don't belong here." The sound in the room went flat and far. I nodded once, because the other option was shattering, put the cookies on the counter, walked out the front door, and drove home on streets that seemed to be holding their breath. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I sat on my rug and stared at the string of lights on my bookshelf until their reflection blurred. And then I opened my laptop. I work in digital marketing. I know the physics of reach and the chemistry of timing. I also know screenshots are louder than feelings. I made a folder and named it December. I filled it with 7 years of small erasures. The Thanksgiving photo, with the neighbor's dog tagged. The Christmas card of the core family. A text where my mom said, "We kept it small." A dozen exchanges where Ethan wrote, "Drop by if you want." The voice memo of my mom saying I was used to being alone and it was better this way. I wrote a letter. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't designed. It was true. I ended it. This year, I'm not invisible anymore. Then I scheduled the post for 7 p.m. the minute I knew they liked to raise their glasses. At 7 o'clock, my phone hummed. A single comment appeared. "No one deserves this." Then another. "My family did this too." "I see you." It spread like a match in a dry forest. Shares, private messages, angry faces, soft faces, old classmates. "I always wondered why you skipped holidays." Coworkers. "She is the most reliable person on our team." Even my boss posted, "If Lily's family can't see her value, That's their loss. For the first time in years, the light on my phone felt like something other than a doorbell. No one would ring. At 7:18, my mom texted, "What is this? Take it down now." At 7:19, Ethan wrote, "Delete." Now Melissa messaged, "The kids will see this one day. You're sick." My dad called 3 times. On the 4th, I answered. He kept his voice low, like he was hiding in a bathroom. "What do you think you're doing?" "Telling the truth," I said. "You're destroying this family." "No," I said. "You destroyed it when you decided I wasn't in it." He hung up. By 7:45, the extended family group chat had revived like a zombie. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Even people who weren't technically family anymore. Aunt Carol wrote, "How dare you shame your mother online?" Uncle Bob wrote, "Mental health is real." Poor Lily. A cousin I barely remembered typed, "Always dramatic, now the internet knows." I replied, "If I wasn't excluded, explain the photos. If I was invited, explain the texts. Receipts don't lie." The typing bubbles trembled and vanished. Ethan called. I almost didn't answer. Curiosity won. He started with the tight calm he uses with customer service reps. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I'm tired of being invisible." He said I was blowing things out of proportion, that holidays are stressful, things slip. Every year? For 7 years? That's not slipping, Ethan. He told me I was embarrassing our parents, that I needed to think about their reputation. For once, I said, they're feeling a fraction of what I felt every holiday. He said, "Delete it." Or else I said, "Or else what?" Silence. He hung up. By 9 o'clock, strangers were defending me under Ethan's perfect Christmas photo. "Where's your sister?" Family who excludes isn't family. Shame. A private call came from Mrs. Greer, my parents' neighbor. "I've watched for years," she whispered. "Your driveway empty. Theirs full. I used to ask and your mom would say, 'You don't like family gatherings.' I knew that wasn't right. Validation is such a simple thing. It felt like a warm hand pressed between my shoulder blades, steadying me. At 10:15, my mom knocked. Not a timid knock, the kind that means business. I checked the peephole and opened the door on the chain. Her eyes were red and bright. "Open up," she said. "We need to talk." "We can talk like this," I said. She told me I was tearing us apart, humiliating them, ruining their Christmas. I told her she'd humiliated me for years, sitting me at the kids' table, cropping me out of photos, pretending I didn't exist. She said I could have talked to them. I said I did. She told me I'd regret this when I had no family left to turn to. I said, I already had no family to turn to. You made sure of that. She stared hard enough to leave a mark, then walked away. By morning, the counterattack was in full bloom. My mom posted publicly, "We love our daughter. She struggles with personal issues. We have always included her. Sometimes she chooses to isolate. Please pray for her instead of believing lies." The comments lined up like parishioners. So sad. Mental health is so important. Praying. They weren't just dismissing me, they were rewriting me. My boss pulled me into a private Zoom and said, "Ignore the noise. We stand by you. Take a few days if you need to." I cried harder for that sentence than for any holiday I'd missed. At 2 p.m, Ethan pounded my door. "Take it down," he said the second I cracked the chain. "You've humiliated all of us. Mom can't even go to the grocery store." "Good," I said. "Now you know how I felt watching your perfect family every holiday." He told me they would call the police, say I was harassing them. "For telling the truth?" I asked. "For smearing your family," he said. "You need help." "I needed a family," I said. I didn't get one. He left in a huff that smelled like cheap cologne and entitlement. That evening, the police did come. 2 officers, one older, one younger. The older one asked, "Are the posts yours?" I said yes. "Is what you posted factual?" I said yes. He nodded. "You're within your rights. Family disputes get messy. If anyone shows up to harass you, call us." After they left, I laughed once in a way that tasted like metal. My family had tried to weaponize the law against my existence. Around 10, a cousin called and whispered, "They're planning something, like showing up at your place, all of them." "Be ready," I thanked her. I locked my door and slept with my phone face down, because whatever was coming would come whether I watched for it or not. Saturday late morning. A series of arrivals, voices in the hallway, the rattle of folding chairs. I peered through the peephole and saw my parents, Ethan, Melissa, the kids, 2 aunts, an uncle, a cousin, someone's casserole. It looked like they were setting up outside my door for a long day of righteousness. My mom knocked. "We're here to talk." "Not today," I said. "Go home." "This is childish," she said. "We're family." "You told me I don't belong here," I said. "Leave." They didn't leave. They arranged themselves on the hallway benches. Someone started a live video and narrated, "We're trying to reconcile, and she won't even open the door." I called the non-emergency line. The same older officer arrived. He took one look and said, "She's asked you to leave." "This is trespassing." Ethan puffed, "We're her family." The officer said, "That's not a legal category. Out, please." The walk of shame down my hallway was long. 13 people, 13 hard looks, 1 casserole. Mrs. Patel from 3B filmed them and said to me, "Good for you, Beta," as they passed. When the hallway quieted, I brewed coffee and opened December. The Post had done the first job, truth said out loud. But I was not finished. Kindness they hadn't earned had kept me quiet for years. Clarity would keep me safe. I drafted cease-and-desist emails for defamation using a clinic's template a friend sent me. Plain, factual, boring, in the way protection often is. I attached screenshots of relatives calling me unstable and accusing me of lying. I asked for public retractions and said I would pursue next steps if they continued. I CC'd a pro bono legal clinic. I also built a simple page titled "Boundaries for Visiting Lily." Invitation only. No surprise drop-ins. If you defame me, you don't get access to me. I choose how I spend my holidays. Full stop. Then I made something I wished someone had made for me years ago. Chosen Family Christmas. I booked my building's community room for December 24th at 7 p.m., the exact minute they always toasted without me. I invited the people who had treated me like a person. Coworkers, neighbors, the barista who knows my order and notices when I look tired, Mrs. Greer, Mrs. Patel, clients who always asked about my weekend and cared about the answer. Potluck sign-up. Kids welcome. Ugly sweaters optional. On the invitation I wrote, "If you've ever wondered where I've been on holidays, come see." Christmas Eve came back around carrying both dread and relief. The community room glowed softly with paper stars I cut by hand. I set up a playlist you could talk over, a long table for food that ranged from store cookies to a shepherd's pie a neighbor swore by. I wore a sweater that felt like forgiveness. At 6:58, I rolled out a tiny projector. When the room filled enough that the echo softened, I tapped the first slide. "You are here because you chose me." People quieted. I tapped the second. A collage of the years I was excluded. Caption lines cropped, dates still visible. Not rage. Context. "If you've seen the post," I said, "you know the outline. Tonight isn't about them. It's about this." People who show up, I tapped again. A QR code appeared, linked to a local shelter's holiday fund for people estranged from family. "Your presence is the present," I said. "If you want to give more, give to someone who needs the seat I didn't have." Phones lifted. Notifications pinged. Mrs. Greer squeezed my hand. My boss hugged me and whispered, "Proud of you." At 7:10, a text came from an unknown number. A photo of my parents' house in the early evening. Empty driveway, porch light on. The caption read, "Where is everyone?" I turned my phone face down and handed a plate of cookies to a kid whose sweater blinked like a traffic light. We ate. We told stories. Someone started a game with oven mitts and chocolate bars, and I haven't laughed that hard in years. We took a photo. No matching pajamas, no choreography, just faces relaxed and real. When we yelled "Merry Christmas," I didn't hear loneliness echoing back. I heard a room say it with me. The morning after, my inbox held two kinds of messages. The first kind came from aunts and uncles. "We didn't realize it was that bad. Your mother said you refused invitations. We're sorry if feelings were hurt." Some sincere, some slippery. The second kind came from my mom, through a new email after I blocked the old one. "You made us look like villains. People stare at me in church. How could you do this to your father?" Then finally, "What do you want from us?" I answered once, "Here's what I want. Acknowledgement that you excluded me. A public correction of the personal issues story. Respect for my boundaries. No surprise visits. Invitations only. An apology not for the internet, for me." I attached the cease and desist template and hit send. 2 days later, my mom posted, "I wrote something hurtful about my daughter. It wasn't true. I'm sorry, short, imperfect, public." Ethan texted, "We'll give you space." For once, space sounded like a gift. Melissa sent, "Hope you're well," months later. I replied, "You too. The kids are growing. I send them books. I don't send myself." 6 months passed in the slow way good months do. I learned to bake bread that didn't collapse. I took a Saturday ceramics class where I made a mug so ugly it's charming. I repotted a plant that had outgrown its pot and thought, "That's me." Chosen family Christmas became a tradition. We put the date on the calendar in July, and the building manager brings spinach dip that is a crime and a comfort. Mrs. Patel insists on a photo where someone's mid-blink, and we post it anyway because life doesn't need to be staged to be good. Do I see my parents? Sometimes. Carefully. Coffee at a public place where it's easier to leave if I need to. We talk about small weather and bigger weather and the price of groceries. We do not pretend that the past was a misunderstanding. We let the present be something we can sit still inside. Trust grows like moss, quiet, slow, needing the right conditions, gone if you scrape too hard. Every so often, my mom asks softly if she can bring a casserole to the potluck. I say, maybe next year, and it isn't revenge. It's pace. It took years to build the cold. It will take years to melt it. Sometimes there are texts that read like attempts. Sometimes there is silence. I try to respond with the same energy I want to live in. People love to say, family is everything. Here's what I know now. Family is everyone who treats you like you're something. Boundaries aren't cruelty. Boundaries are how love survives contact with reality. The surprise I promised them wasn't the post, or the police standing in my hallway, or the letter with legal words in it. The surprise was simpler and more final. I stopped begging for a shrinking chair at a table that didn't want me, and I built a table that always has another chair. Last Christmas, my mom told me I didn't belong. This Christmas, I chose where I do. If they won't see me kindly, they'll see me clearly. Turned out, clarity was more than enough.